Part 106. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1051. The advancement mission of the researcher is not available in this Poseidon temple. You should go to the professional union. Xiaoming went to talk to the manager of the temple, just to see if there are any interesting missions here. Unfortunately, the researcher's luck is not so good. The mission list is full of ordinary missions that are not interesting and have no nutrition. Just as the researcher checked them one by one and planned to pan for gold in the sand, someone suddenly spoke behind him. Xiaoming's mind ability circle has been turned on all the time, so he naturally knows who is speaking. It is one of the players who had fought before, Drilling Sky Rat Lu Fang. This is the first time Xiaoming has noticed the names of these players. At this time, there are exactly 5 people in the temple, the 5 rats. The names of the other 4 player characters are Chedai Rat Hanjiang, Drilling Mountain Rat Su Qing, Flipping River Rat Zhangping, and Golden Hair Rat Bai Yutang. Although the historical trend of Pangustar has changed since the Tang dynasty. However, some famous works still appear. For example, the 4 great classics, and there's 3 heroes and 5 gallants. Of course, the background of the story has definitely changed. The background of the story of 3 heroes and 5 gallants is the Northern Song dynasty, and Pangustar no longer has this period of history. The time when this book appeared was actually earlier than the Earth in the parallel world, but it was not created by any time traveler. To be honest, if a time traveler copied a book, it is unlikely to copy this one. At least he would copy other books first. It was born in advance because China was strong for hundreds of years during the later Qin dynasty, and various cultures developed faster. So the time of the emergence of some things was greatly advanced. The most obvious one is technology. Books are actually just a side effect. Someone will ask, 5 Rats is such a recognizable name, why didn't Xiaoming recognize it before? The 5 people did not appear collectively twice before. Now recalling that the first time they met, it was too early, and only 1 rat appeared among the 5 rats. Later, the second fight happened in a hurry, and the other 2 rats appeared. Mixed in the crowd, it was not noticeable. Now the game has been going on for a long enough time, and the 5 rats are already 3rd-level players. This time, the brothers acted collectively, so they all met the researcher. The names of the 5 people listed together naturally attracted Xiaoming's attention. Sir, we have no ill intentions, not at all. Please don't do it. Although he knew that this was a green area and he couldn't fight at all, Lu Fang, the Sky Rat, still kept a low profile and bowed repeatedly to beg. In both encounters, Xiaoming took advantage. Besides, the 5 rats were not the leaders of the gang of hooligans, and Xiaoming didn't care about these 5 people. Through his mind, Xiaoming actually sensed what he was thinking, and his interest came out. Naturally, he continued to act. Oh? What? You don't want to beat me up this time? Brother, haha, you're joking. We knew how powerful you were last time. Don't worry. The higher UPS have issued an order that we must not provoke you in the future. Is that so? That's good. If others don't offend me, I won't offend others. If you don't provoke me, I won't take the initiative to retaliate against you. Let's keep our distance. Let's go. Xiaoming pretended to think that he was here to negotiate peace. He agreed and pretended to leave. Hey, brother, don't be anxious. We have a purple mission. Brother, listen to me. Seeing that the researcher was about to leave, Lu Fang, the Sky Rat, hurriedly said his original intention. Successfully retained the researcher's footsteps. Even the 2 druid-transformed animals lying on the researcher's shoulders showed some interest. The 5 rats are a group of close friends in reality. After being promoted to level 3, they have been doing collective activities. because they cooperated well with each other and did not fight for treasures. This small team developed quite well after the third level. A few days ago, they received a purple master level task in the Temple of Poseidon. The number of people was limited to 10. They were able to receive this task because they had accumulated a lot of contribution points in the temple before. The system gave rewards. Unfortunately, this task has exceeded the level of 5 people. If the strength is insufficient, it is a waste to have a task. The 5 rats failed in 2 tasks. If they fail again for the 3rd time, the task will be completely ruined. Not only did they lose all their money, but they also had to pay for the material consumption during the 2 tasks, the punishment of the tasks, the wasted time, etc. The 5 rats are already at the 3rd level, and they actually have a 2nd character. But they all chose other races for the 2nd character. It is not useful at this time. Logically, they should have gone to their own club for help at this time. The club sent 5 masters out to do the task with them. The chance of success is still very high. But they didn't dare. What kind of organization is the Little Rogue Club? That's not a player guild. If the club knew about this, the first reaction would not be to help, but to blame. If there is such a task, why didn't you hand it over to the club earlier? Are you guys too arrogant? So the 5 rats didn't dare to ask the club for help. If it really doesn't work, they would rather give up the task than let the club know. However, the purple master level task is too rare. It's the first time they have encountered it, so of course the 5 rats are reluctant to give up. Recently, they have been thinking about what to do. Usually, the 5 of them often hang around places where players often appear, such as temples and professional guilds, hoping to find experts outside the club to help. God will not let down those who work hard. After waiting for a few days, they really waited for Xiaoming to come online and the researcher to appear. The power of the researcher is unforgettable for at least 2 of the 5 people. At the beginning, more than a dozen players brought hundreds of mercenaries to beat up the researcher, but they were all killed in one move. Fire Escape, Head Hard Work, that is a B-level ninjutsu, which is equivalent to a large-scale attack skill of level 6 in the game. How can it be forgotten when it hits a few level 2 guys? Although the researcher has a grudge against their own club, the 5 rats feel that there is no grudge between the researcher and the 5 of them, and more importantly, the researcher definitely has no grudge against good tasks. In the final analysis, benefits are still the most useful. Lu Fang, the Sky Rat, thinks that the possibility of inviting the researcher is still very high. The only thing we need to worry about is that if the researcher completes the task and then turns the tables, and doesn't share the reward with everyone, it will be terrible. But asking outsiders for help is a risk that must be taken. This is the same no matter who you ask. Some people think that the researcher is so strong that he may have the so-called master style. Maybe he doesn't even bother to turn the tables. This is a gamble. Even if the researcher takes the lion's share, it's not bad for us to get a share of the profits. It's better than getting nothing. If the gamble is right, we may soar to the sky. If we make a lot of money, who the hell is afraid of the club? I wish you all a happy May Day. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1052. The 5 people, Lu Fang, the Sky Drilling Rat, Han Zhang, the Earth Threading Rat, Su Qing, the Mountain Walking Rat, Zhang Ping, the River Wandering Rat, and Bai Yutang, the Golden-Haired Rat, couldn't believe their luck at all. Until the researcher paid for it and signed a system agreement with the 5 rats, the 5 players were still a little unbelievable. Are all the experts today so easy to talk to? The researcher not only readily agreed to the request of himself and others, but was also willing to form a team to complete the task. He also offered to share only 50% of the public rewards given by the system after the task is completed. According to the system regulations, Each player will receive different rewards such as experience and money due to their different contributions to the task. However, some rewards belong to the entire mission, and the distribution of these rewards is determined by the team leader according to the game rules. The mission was taken over by the 5 rats, so the nominal captain is Lu Fang, the sky-drawing rat. The 5 rats all believed that this time the researcher would definitely take away the position of captain, and even put forward more stringent requirements. Unexpectedly, the other party did not do so. Such good conditions made the 5 rats wonder if there was something wrong with this guy. Why give away so many benefits? Could it be that he has other intentions for himself and others? Seeing their thoughts, Xiao Ming was a little bit dumbfounded. In order to dispel a few people's doubts, he took the initiative to pay and signed an agreement certified by the system. Now the 5 people were completely relieved. I'm just curious as to why the researchers are so generous. What else could it be? Of course it's because Xiao Ming has seen through what a few people are thinking. That's all. A few people actually plan to break away from the original gangster society and become good people after making this money. Xiao Ming is very happy to have this realization. Taking a closer look at the souls of a few people, Xiao Ming found that the 5 of them actually did very few bad things. Occasionally, he would do some good deeds secretly to make up for it. If swords were inserted into the 5 people now to reward good and punish evil, they would not be punished. Of course Xiao Ming will help such people who have good intentions. The first step is to help them complete the task and get the money first. Of course, this idea may just be their impulsive idea, so Xiao Ming didn't point it out and plan to see their subsequent actions. Purple Master Mission: Capture the Minotaur Maze. The mission is roughly like this: there is an entrance to an underground passage near the city of Hansen, but the entrance is blocked by a large maze. This maze is actually a different kind of military camp, producing a new type of soldier Turan. For the elves in Tanshan City who lack military strength, obtaining a new force will be extremely important. The player's task is to capture the core of the maze and gain control of the barracks. If you submit it to Tanshan City, you will receive a very generous reward. Turan are a powerful unit of the Orc tribe. They are strong, with excellent strength and physical attributes, average agility, and relatively lacking in intelligence and spirit. In the Magic Planet, they belong to a subspecies of orcs active in the underground world. 5 rats and the others did this task twice. The second time I actually reached the end of the level. But he was defeated by the guarding boss. Therefore, they have a fairly good understanding of the difficulty of this task. As a purple mission, the troops in the maze are very strong. There are patrols composed of about 20 level 2-4 Turan everywhere. If they swarmed forward, the players at this stage would simply not be able to stop them. It is the complex environment of the maze that helps players a lot. You can find opportunities to defeat them one by one. You can also fight in a blocked position to reduce losses. At key intersections in the maze, there will be a fixed point guard team led by a level 5 Turan. The highest level of mercenaries under the 5 men is level 3. There is a big difference in strength. Fortunately, the number of player mercenaries is relatively large, so it is no problem to deal with a few patrols. Using props and losing some troops, they can break through the guard team led by the level 5 Turan. But the final guard boss is 3 level 6 Turan and some low-level subordinates. The 5 rats are really unbeatable. Of course, if 10 people do the task, the strength and props will be doubled. As long as the operation is done properly, the chance of passing the level is still high. After listening to this narrative, Xiao Ming felt relieved. It would be best if you can pass the level with force, if it is a puzzle-solving mission. Even though his force is strong, he may not be able to get by. He didn't even think about it. If it was really that type of mission, they wouldn't have to look for him. The mission location is outside Tanshan City, in an elf military camp. Xiaoming and Wushu made an appointment to go separately and meet up after arriving at the military camp. It's not impossible to go together, for fear of being seen by people in the club and causing trouble for the 5 rats. Besides, the researcher still has to complete the task of advancing to level 3. Go to the alchemist's professional union, and the promotion task issued by the instructor is to make a certain number of level 2 puppets within a limited time. Of course, this is not difficult for classmate Xiaoming. The task was successfully completed in 10 minutes and promoted to level 3. Such a mission can not only test the player's professional skills, but also strengthen the city's military strength. It really kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Half an hour later, the 5 rats and the researcher met as planned. The elf officer in charge of the mission checked and released the level check, allowing several people to walk down the tunnel entrance. After walking about 100 meters, a huge black stone door appeared in front of them. In fact, it is just a door frame without a door panel. Okay, you guys wait for me here, I'll go in by myself. Seeing that the mission has officially started, Xiaoming controlled the researcher and said to the 5 rats. The 5 rats were a little confused, and they looked at each other. After more than 10 seconds, the sky rat Lufang suggested softly. Brother, we know you are powerful. But after all, you haven't, oh no, you just reached level 3. Why don't we help you deal with the monsters? Xiaoming raised his hand to stop his self-recommendation. Try to use a more sincere tone to say. To be honest, combat power is my secret, I don't want to expose it. Now you have entered the mission and can get rewards, so, understand it? Understand, 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 then we 5 brothers are here, wishing Big Brother a successful start and success. Lufang can also understand Xiaoming's request. The brothers clasped their fists and saluted. Seeing Xiaoming walk into the huge stone door of the maze and be swallowed by darkness. The size of this maze, Xiaoming can now completely cover it with a circle. There is no secret at all. The method used by the 5 rats before was the one that encountered the least enemies and was the easiest to succeed. However, the maze was connected in all directions, with many forks. In addition to enemies, there were also various rewards on the forks. They took the simplest route, which meant that they voluntarily gave up a lot of sporadic rewards. What a waste of resources. It's not that the 5 rats didn't know or didn't want to take it, but they really couldn't get it, so there was nothing they could do. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1053. Xiaoming naturally wants to thoroughly clean up this maze and not miss any good things. He can also practice the operation of the sand ninja puppet. The researcher strolled in the maze, and a large number of shadow clones, mind beasts, and sand ninja puppets controlled by the shadow clones quickly dispersed and poured into each fork in the road. These 0-1 level puppets are not very good at fighting, but they are indeed the best for exploring, blocking guns, stepping on mines, and stepping on traps. No matter how many die, they don't feel bad. They are made of the lowest level wood, which is too cheap. When they really encounter a battle, they can also block guns for the clones and mind beasts. They are definitely excellent cannon fodder. In fact, the shadow clones and mind beasts are also cannon fodder, but their level is slightly higher than that of the puppets. There are several core forces in each team that can make the final decision. The core is composed of the 7 stars shadow clones and the alien King Kong. Under normal circumstances, this is all B-level/6th order combat power, not to mention that the 7 Yao shadow clone can also summon the 7th order Susanoo. The alien King Kong has also practiced the telekinesis of the heart source flow, so their combat power should not be underestimated. Of course, the core power is used to guarantee the bottom line. If other arms can handle it, they don't have to take action. In the final analysis, Xiao Ming's main purpose in this battle, in addition to completing the task, is to practice multi-line operation of puppets. If you always use high-level combat power to push forward, you will reduce the opportunity to exercise and lose a lot of fun in the game. Xiao Ming even regretted that he shouldn't have used circle before. After seeing the situation of the entire maze, it was less fun to fight. It's just that it has become Xiao Ming's fixed habit to open the circle and spirit shield for a long time. It helps to prevent sneak attacks, and saving lives is the first priority. It's also wrong not to open it. You can consider deliberately reducing the range of the circle. Just reduce the reconnaissance radius to about 100 meters around you. It's hard to do this, and it's not important at all. Therefore, Xiao Ming often deliberately narrows the scope of the circle when he thinks of it, and slowly lets it go once he doesn't pay attention. From the outside, it looks like blowing up and deflating a balloon. It's a bit funny. Moo, Captain, listen to the sound, the mechanism in front has been triggered, do you want to go and take a look? Look at it. There's a patrol. Moo, Captain, listen to the sound, the patrol seems to be in a bad situation, do you want to help? Help it? Don't fall into their trap of moving the cow away from the mountain. We can't move. Moo, Captain, listen to the sound, it seems to be rushing over. Listen to it. I can see it with my eyes, TNND crow mouth, you push it up for me. Moo. In a certain Minotaur guard team, there is a gifted soldier who is good at lying on the ground and listening to various sounds. If this skill can be upgraded to several thousand levels, it can probably evolve into the legendary beast Diting. I don't know if the Diting beast really existed. Or is it just another human brain impersonating it? This soldier has been reporting what he heard to his team leader and making various suggestions. Although his intelligence is very accurate and his suggestions are actually reasonable, it really annoys his boss. Until the end, the army of shadow clones and mind beasts and sand ninja puppets sent by Xiao Ming appeared in front of him. He still lay on the ground while listening and talking. He has no sense at all. Before, his suggestions were actually correct. This is also a feature of this mission copy. His boss, the leader of this guard team, the 5th level Minotaur, will not listen to his suggestions most of the time. But occasionally there is a probability that he will listen once and lead his troops to attack. This is not only an emergency that players find very difficult to deal with, but also an opportunity. After all, this team gave up its advantageous defensive facilities and took the initiative to attack. If players use it well, they can indeed greatly reduce losses. But this time, the captain did not listen to the soldier's advice. Of course, even if he listened to the advice, it would be useless against Xiao Ming's army. The captain had a bad temper and blamed it all on his subordinate crow mouth. He grabbed the soldier and threw him at the attacking enemy. Since he had not fought before, the captain should have led his troops to defend the position, but the monster in the enemy team aroused his desire to fight. After throwing Crow Mouth's subordinate as a hidden weapon, the captain let out a long moo, boosted morale, and decisively led the entire army to attack. What kind of monster is so useful? It was the Mind Beast alien King Kong sent by Xiao Ming. The alien's posture is ferocious, and the whole body of metal is ridged and curvy, exuding an extremely strong sense of provocation. Most Minotaurs have a bad temper and cannot stand provocation. Even if the opponent is obviously stronger than himself, the Minotaur will go forward bravely and rush up to confront. This is the pride of the bull. He happened to be facing the leader of the aliens, the Minotaur alien with mouse ears. Aliens are assassin-type creatures. Their fighting style is generally more despicable, and they rarely confront the enemy head-on. But there are exceptions occasionally. The leader of the aliens was influenced by the genes of the bull in his body, and he likes to wield a pair of chain axes to fight the enemy head-on. The prerequisite is that he will do this only when he knows that the opponent is far less powerful than himself. The Minotaur leader who rushed over was a whole level lower than himself, so there was nothing to be afraid of. The boss roared, and then transformed into a mouse-eared Minotaur, and rushed forward with a spinning axe. His speed was much faster than that of the low-level puppets, and also much faster than those beastmen. He rushed to the front of his team in a few steps. With a bang, he collided with the enemy captain, knocking him back 7 or 8 steps, knocking down several subordinates before falling to the ground. Puff! A mouthful of old blood spurted out. The Minotaur captain shook his head, struggling in a panic, and couldn't stand up for a long time. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed in front of his eyes, and a sharp pain came from his shoulder. The captain couldn't help but screamed moo. I saw an axe chopping his right shoulder, and it had already hit the bone. There was a long iron chain behind the axe, and the other end was connected to another axe in the boss's hand. The boss reached out and grabbed the chain, and pulled it back with all his strength, and pulled the Minotaur captain out of the crowd again. It can be seen how deep the axe had chopped before. This pull directly pulled the Minotaur captain in front of him, and kicked him hard in the face. The Minotaur captain's nose was shattered, and a long stream of blood spurted out of the sky. His body fell back heavily to the ground, and the axe was separated from his shoulder. He screamed in pain, moo. Seeing that terrible enemy swung a pair of axes and chopped at him frantically. With this posture, do you want to make dumplings at home? Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1054. Seeing their boss fall to the ground, being chopped by a strange guy with an axe like chopping dumpling stuffing. The other Minotaurs were not happy. In this guard team, there is a 4th level deputy captain, 8 3rd level small leaders, and 22nd level soldiers. Among them, the deputy captain is a Minotaur shaman. Seeing the captain in danger, he quickly stretched out his hand. A totem pole appeared in the middle of the battlefield, and the Minotaur captain's blood volume began to recover. Soon, he was chopped back by the alien boss with an axe. However, this only temporarily saved the captain's life. If he didn't stand up and fight back quickly, he would still have no way to survive. So the remaining Minotaur small leaders and soldiers, with a moo, collectively rushed up fearlessly. The captain's tragedy just now did not scare them away. Minotaur is really reckless. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Each Minotaur was assigned several sand ninja puppets. Among the sand ninjas, puppets of levels 1 to 2 are all humanoid, which is not very smart. Humanoid puppets are not easy to operate. To be honest, they are not as effective as a simple dart launcher. However, this kind of thing is a problem of setting, and it is not Xiaoming's turn to say anything. Just use whatever you have. Anyway, Xiaoming has no problem operating humanoid puppets. These puppets rushed forward, neither attacking nor defending, but instead treated themselves as decorations and hung on the limbs of the Minotaur. They used martial arts techniques similar to joint techniques to trip the enemy's hands and feet. The puppets that had no place to hang attacked the enemy's joints, eyes, and other key parts. Occasionally, they could also do a 1,000-year kill or something. The effect is also very good. Such attacks do not cause much damage to these Minotaurs, but they can make them unable to move and have difficulty walking. Become the target of the Beastman Mother Beast. The same thing can be done by Xiaoming using alchemy, ninjutsu, and magic. It's just that he is practicing puppets now. Catwoman's dagger, Dogwoman's spear, Snakewoman's poison arrow, Peacockwoman's peacock feather dart, caused various wounds on the Minotaur from time to time. And Foxwoman's charm and Butterflywoman's hypnosis can work wonders on Minotaur. After all, the intelligence and mental attributes of the whole Minotaur race are lower than those of soldiers of the same level. They have poor resistance to magic. Even the shaman deputy captain could not escape this shortcoming. He is stronger than all other Minotaurs in the team in terms of spirit, and will not be so easily hit. However, he also needs to concentrate to fight hypnosis and charm. It is difficult to cast spells to help other teammates at the same time. I want to kill the thief, but I can't save the situation. About half an hour later, a battle ended. Except for 2 level 2 and 1 level 3 Minotaurs who surrendered, all others died in battle. The captain's bloody death was the most miserable. Similarly, there were about 20 to 30 puppets torn apart by the Minotaurs. The 7-star shadow clones took out new puppets from the Bright Summit to fill the positions. In addition, the corpses on the ground should not be wasted, and they were all put into the Bright Summit, in order to avoid being refreshed by the system after a while. Then released from the researcher. The alien queen Xiaohe immediately ate. Xiao Ming could feel that as his own strength grew, Xiaohe seemed to have the potential to continue to grow. Xiao Ming's feeling was right on this point. Xiaohe did have this potential. But the growth of Xiao Ming's own strength was only a secondary reason. The main reason was that among Xiao Ming's mind beasts, there were 2 teams of souls, the alien King Kong and the Transformers. Their own mind power was already quite mature, and they could fully bear their own existence, and they began to feed back mind power to Xiao Ming. So not only did they make up for the potential points they originally occupied, but they could even increase them. Xiao Ming naturally felt that his potential in mind power was relatively abundant. Xiaohe had room to continue to grow. The reason for this growth was closely related to the Soul Gem, that is, the underworld. These 2 teams of Vajra mind beasts usually stay in Guangmingding. Soul Gem is building up the underworld near Guangmingding. They will naturally be affected. The underworld is next door, and these dishonest guys go out for a spin from time to time. Even if the Soul Gem did not specifically strengthen them, they felt the power of the Soul Gem up close, so how could they not have a little understanding? After all, they are Xiao Ming's mind beasts, and Xiao Ming has mastered a variety of source energies. He has a stronger ability to perceive source energy through hearing and seeing. Although this is not enough for them to gain the recognition of source energy, it can strengthen their original power. It's similar to the saying that those who are close to vermilion will be red, and those who are close to ink will be black. In fact, Xiaohong, Xiaolu, Xiajia, Kangma, Feiying, and others, as long as they often go in and out of Guangmingding, have also gained some benefits. However, the gains of these guys cannot be directly reflected on Xiao Ming. Even they themselves think that it is the credit of their recent diligent practice, and they don't think about the underworld. As the troops gradually penetrated deeper, the outer Minotaur patrols and guards were wiped out. There were 24 Minotaur who surrendered. Unfortunately, they were all small characters of level 2 and 3, and no level 4 Minotaur surrendered. Xiao Ming did not need extra cannon fodder, and planned to sell these Minotaur to the elves for a good price. Otherwise, it would not be a loss to put them in the tent as a reserve of mercenaries for the researcher. Therefore, Xiao Ming protected these Minotaur intact in the rear. On the periphery of the maze, Xiao Ming's 7 shadow clone opened a total of 4 treasure chests and obtained 4 one-time scrolls. All of them are specifically for Minotaur. 3 of the scrolls can temporarily reduce the morale, vitality, and attack power of a Minotaur unit. The last scroll can be used to recruit the Minotaur unit at the end of the level to surrender. This is a situation specially set for this task. Without this scroll, there is almost no possibility of recruiting the last Minotaur unit to surrender. In the adventure map, there are many factors that affect the probability of surrender. The strength gap between the 2 sides is the first. Ordinary troops will not surrender to a team weaker than themselves. In addition, the races and professions of both sides also have a great relationship. Among the 4 initial races, Minotaur is more likely to surrender to orc players, followed by humans, then elves, and finally undead. And this is an adventure map and a special task. So it is unlikely to recruit the entire army, probably only a small part of them will surrender. If you use the other 3 scrolls first to significantly reduce the strength of the target team, the proportion of the Minotaur who surrender will be higher. This is also one of the ways to pass this mission. Unfortunately, the 5 Rats team is not strong enough and has no chance to try this method. As an old game player, there are clues and props in the maze branches that are helpful for passing the level. This is a standard online game setting. It's not that they can't think of it, but they can't use it because of insufficient military strength. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1055. The effect of professional matching treasures is good. The boss team guarding the core of the maze was easily subdued by the large army of researchers under the power of 4 scrolls. In this group of boss teams, there are 3 level 6, 1 level 5, 9 level 4, 24 level 3, and 51 level 2 Minotaurs. When Xiao Ming's army pressed on and 4 scrolls were used, 1/3 of them chose to surrender at the beginning of the war. Another 1/3, led by a level 6 Minotaur Berserker, launched a desperate charge, but were killed by several 7-star Shadow clones with their ultimate moves. The Berserker was killed instantly by Tsukuyomi, and his subordinates died under the colorful ninjutsu. After all, Xiao Ming ate Kakuzu. Kakuzu is a textbook of ninjutsu, and he knows every one of the 5 elements escape techniques. Earth escape earth spear, wind escape compression, water escape water curtain tent, lightning escape pseudo darkness, fire escape head. Hard work took turns to perform a ninjutsu drama, and these Minotaurs died worthy of their death. This is an ability from the secret realm, which ordinary people can't encounter. Seeing the enemy's power, the remaining 1/3 were no longer stubborn and knelt down to surrender. In fact, Xiao Ming had a little crooked thought. These 4 scrolls are so targeted that they may have other uses. Sooner or later, there will be a time to encounter a large army of Minotaurs, and when the time comes, these scrolls will definitely scare the other party. Although this wave of boss is quite powerful, Xiao Ming can still deal with it. Maybe he should really keep these scrolls. However, Xiao Ming thought that 10 birds in the bush are not as good as 1 bird in the hand. Instead of waiting for an opportunity that will come in the future, it is better to use it now. After all, this is a purple master level task. Using the professional counterpart scroll should be able to improve the completion of the task. Maybe there will be a surprise. As it turns out, there is indeed a surprise, but Xiao Ming is not sure whether it is brought by the use of the scroll. When all the living Minotaurs knelt down and surrendered, the system automatically played the plot. I saw the 5th level Minotaur priest tremblingly stand up from the ground. He walked to the researcher hidden in the dark with a staggering step. The researcher was not close to the battlefield, but the priest walked to him in a few steps. "Human, I have an unwelcome request. I wonder if you have the capacity to accept it? Just say it. Your Excellency's military power is strong, and we admire it. But my Minotaur tribe worships the strong. If you can defeat us, mother and son, without relying on your subordinates, you will get the loyalty of our entire tribe." Mother and son? Xiao Ming looked carefully at the 5th level Minotaur priest in front of him and the 2 Minotaur warriors behind him. I can't tell which one is the mother. I can't even tell which one is older. Minotaur is like this, with wrinkles all over his face, and it's hard to tell his age and gender. From what he said, this priest is probably the mother. But is this plot reasonable? You have to know that to defeat the Minotaur in the entire maze, Xiao Ming used his own strength and didn't send a single mercenary. Why does she think that the 3 of them, mother and son, with negative effects on them, can defeat the researcher? In principle, the researcher can now hire mercenaries up to level 3, but he didn't spend the money. The tent is full of soldiers hired by the former intelligent program Xiao Sainer. The highest is only level 2. They are useless. And they have all surrendered. What's the point of fighting a 3-on-1 game before they pledge their loyalty? Does it mean that the previous surrender was not sincere? Forget it, there is no need to delve into it. Most of the games are set up like this. There is no way to reason with NPCs. I guess if you don't accept 3 on -1, the mission should still be over. But the mission effect is not the best, and the reward is not the best. If you accept it, there must be some risks. After all, you have to fight against 2 level 6 and 1 level 5. On the surface, there is a huge difference. As long as you win, it will be a perfect ending. If you can't win, maybe even the mission will fail. Thinking about the probability of not winning, Xiaoming smiled. It's basically impossible. So he happily accepted the fight. The development of the situation was a little beyond Xiaoming's expectations. Before the battle began, the old and frail Minotaur priest tore off a necklace made of unknown bones on his neck. His own momentum began to rise rapidly, his muscles began to swell, and his level also soared, from the original level 5 to the level 6, and directly promoted to the level 7. The enemy instantly became much stronger. Xiaoming immediately, afterwards, like Zhuqiang, muttering in his heart, I said it was strange, there were 3 level 6 leaders, how could there be only 1 level 5 priest, it turned out to be a fake level 7. The term pseudo-level is very popular among players, referring to those who can temporarily have the strength of a certain level. This Tauran priest is one of them. His usual strength is estimated to be level 6, but he has been suppressed to level 5 with secret methods. Until the most critical moment, he released the secret method to temporarily have the strength of level 7. This gameplay is also very powerful. According to the plot set by the system, only when the player uses the surrender scroll and persuades more than half of the Tauran to surrender with super strength, this plot will be activated. If the player does not accept this challenge, the task will be successful as usual and the reward will be obtained normally. It's just that the extra reward is missing. If the player accepts the challenge, he will not use mercenaries, but characters to fight against 1 level 7 and 2 level 6 Minotaurs. It is a very unfair battle. It is not that Xiaoming is unfair to fight 1 versus 3, bullying a mother and her son, this is a team mission, and it is really unfair for the Minotaurs to fight 3 versus 10. The level difference is huge. This time is a special case, because Xiaoming cleared the level alone, and the 5 rat brothers did not come here. So it became a one-on-one duel. In fact, it should be 10 players clearing the level, and 3 Minotaurs fighting 10 players. However, how can 10 normal level 3 players be the opponents of these 3 masters? They can fight off a level 6, which is an extraordinary performance. In this case, is the setting of the system task not reasonable? Actually, it is not. This is a challenge prepared for high-level players, and low-level players just need to not accept the challenge. This challenge will become a hidden task, which will be left for players to explore in the future. It is not necessary to fight this battle at level 3. Of course, if the player can complete this hidden task at level 3, there is no doubt that he will get a very generous reward. Xiaoming's character, the researcher, is really lucky. On impulse, he took the initiative to help his former enemy, and unexpectedly got such an opportunity. Good people are rewarded. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1056. Ha ha ha, Driller, you shouldn't have given me time to transform. Now I want to, Where's the person? The Minotaur mother, whose figure became taller and stronger than her 2 sons, excitedly said half a sentence and found that the enemy had disappeared. She turned her head to look at her 2 sons, but they didn't see anything either. It seemed that the driller was standing in front of them in the previous second, ready to fight, the next second, he disappeared. They couldn't even be sure whether the driller really disappeared in the previous second. The previous memories seemed to become less real. Of course, Xiaoming hid the driller with an invisible suit. The gap in strength is no joke. The character of the driller has just been upgraded to level 3. Xiaoming's own strength was almost all used to complete this task. The nine-tailed fox followed to collect energy, and it was probably very happy to laugh. And the alchemist is still a civilian. As a result, the driller's vitality and defense are very low. If you get hit unexpectedly, you will probably die immediately. Just now, the system played the plot, so that the mother and the 3 bulls of the other side all stood in front of the real body of the researcher. Xiaoming was very alert at that time. He has been trying to use the 2 abilities of mental power shield and invisibility suit. The plot just ended, and the researcher was actually no longer in the original place. What remained in the original place was just an illusion. Since it was said to be a one-on-one duel, Xiaoming didn't know whether using abilities such as clones and mind beasts was considered cheating. It is very likely that it will not matter, but doing so may affect the final reward. So Xiaoming did not use abilities such as clones. Instead, he activated a newly learned mind ability, two-handed machine gun. Anyway, the 3 Minotaurs can't see him, and the researcher who is invisible and shielded is completely invincible. Just fight. The researcher kept circling around the mother and the 3 bulls, and at the same time, countless mind bullets poured out at the 3 bulls. At this time, the researcher was no longer using a two-handed machine gun. He used the Iron Blood Neza to transform into 10 arms, using 10 handheld guns. The researcher's own hands did not move. He secretly prepared to deal with emergencies. The 3 Minotaurs were all high level, and their agility was not very outstanding, but it was pretty good. Their first reaction was to dodge the attack. But the effect was minimal. After all, there were 10 hands over there, a total of 50 continuous rivers of mind bullets, which continuously rushed over, covering most angles and directions. The 2 sons each had 15, and the mother was tracked and hit by 20 mind bullets. It was good to dodge half of them. However, the Minotaurs were distracted to dodge, which reduced the efficiency of defense. You can't do 2 things at the same time. Gradually, the mother and the 3 bulls stopped jumping up and down, but gathered together, helping each other and covering each other. Because they really couldn't dodge. The mother released a defense totem that reduced damage and a healing totem that restored vitality to protect the 3 bulls. The 2 level 6 warriors also tried their best to provide protection for the mother. Although the mother is level 7, because she is a priest, her defense is not as good as her son's. Machine guns alone cannot deal with them. Just as the mother and her sons were thinking about how to fight back, flying swords began to appear in the air. The number increased, and finally there were hundreds of them. It was the Zanpakuto of the 7 Shadows clones, Claude 6 styles. It's not good to use the clones, but it should be okay to use their swords. Feeling the pressure of the Zanpakuto in the air, the 3 Minotaurs secretly said not good. It seems that the attack power of these flying swords must be stronger than the telekinesis. I don't know if I can withstand it. Xiaoming was a little anxious. I gave you a chance to surrender, but you guys just couldn't understand it. Then he waved his finger. Swish, a Zanpakuto flew at high speed. Dang, the Minotaur warrior using a pair of giant axes chopped the Zanpakuto away with one axe. Then swish, swish, 2 Zanpakuto flew over again. Dang, dang. Shua, 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 shua 4, 8, 16. Moo, 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 the 3 Minotaurs screamed continuously. It was impossible to fend off so many flying swords, and scars began to appear on the 3 people's bodies. This is not over yet. Because of the distraction of their attention, the 3 people were still very strong. The bombardment of hundreds of bullets. Blood was already overflowing from the corners of their mouths. Seeing the next wave, 32s and Pakuto were about to fly together. Mu. Stop fighting. Surrender. Admit defeat. The mother and her 3 Minotaurs knelt down and surrendered and no longer resisted. After the battle, the mother, the 7th level Minotaur priest, began to shrink gradually. The two sons cried beside their mother. Xiaoming asked and found out that the secret technique was a one-time one and could not be effective forever. And the price paid for the secret technique was life. If she was strong, the priestess might still survive as a low-level Minotaur. But my mother doesn't have much time left. I'm afraid she'll die this time. Xiaoming, with the attitude of doing his best and leaving the rest to fate, injected the Minotaur priest with several injections of life essence. It was obvious that the priestess' body had recovered, but soon began to shrink again. It seemed that the drug was not effective enough. Xiaoming didn't know whether continuing to give her the life essence would be effective. Maybe it would be useless. However, there were 4 huge bull eyes around him, looking at him with tears in their eyes. Xiaoming was too embarrassed to stop taking the medicine. So they fought here. Give a few injections of life essence, and wait for a while. If the Minotaur mother continued to shrink, give a few more injections. This was repeated 7 or 8 times. Finally, the Minotaur priest stopped shrinking, and the cost of using the secret technique was offset. She maintained the level of a 4th level Minotaur priest. The two sons cried with joy and mood. A ray of light sent Xiaoming out of the bright top and came to the mid-air of the maze, which was the universal treasure level 3 summoning cube. The mother and her 3 bulls were all absorbed into the magic cube, occupying a grid. Xiaoming almost forgot about this treasure, and didn't want it to jump out again at this time. Originally, there were only Freddy, the Buckner family and the alien queen in the magic cube, and now there are 3 Minotaur families. It can be summoned by any character of Xiaoming at any time. The original reward that the player could get was 3 summoning opportunities for the 2 sons in the main game. The Minotaur mother was going to die here. Because Xiaoming forcibly saved his mother's life, the mother and her 3 sons were grateful and allowed Xiaoming to drive. It happened that Xiaoming also had such a universal treasure, the summoning cube, so they moved directly into the cube. The increase in this reward is very large. Not only is there one more person, the limit of only 3 summoning opportunities has been cancelled. And the location has also surpassed the main game, allowing it to be summoned in most secret realms. For most players, this is a magic weapon. For Xiaoming, it is not a big surprise. We don't lack this little combat power. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1057. System Prompts. Congratulations to the player for completing the Purple Master level task, Capture the Minotaur Labyrinth. Because some players have completed the hidden task, the reward has been upgraded. The city of Tanshan has obtained the special barracks Minotaur Labyrinth. Several 2-5 level Minotaurs are produced every week. The player researcher obtains a certain recruitment authority every week, and can recruit 1 level 5 Minotaur, or 2 level 4, or 4 level 3, or 8 level 2 Minotaurs. For this recruitment reward, since the 5 rat players did not contribute much, their contribution was not enough. So they only have the recruitment authority of 1 level 3, or 2 level 2 Minotaurs per week. In theory, the researcher is a level 3 player, and the highest he can recruit is level 3 Minotaurs as mercenaries. Because the researcher performed outstandingly in the task, the authority was specially increased by 1 level, and he can recruit level 4 Minotaurs. In addition, the researcher finally completed the hidden task and subdued the Minotaur mother and son, and the authority was increased by 1 level again, and he can recruit level 5 Minotaurs. However, the system rules must be followed. Even if the researcher recruits 4th and 5th level Minotaurs, they cannot be used as their own mercenaries. Instead, they can sell them to other NPCs or players at a higher price to make a profit, and act as a middleman to earn the difference. Commonly known as a second-hand dealer. Of course, since no player has reached 4th level at this stage, Xiaoming thinks he can only sell them to NPCs at a high price. Who will buy them? Is there any need to ask? Of course, it is the elves in Tanshan City. High-level troops are quite useful. Minotaurs are also a very outstanding type of troops. Tanshan City is eager to buy them and is absolutely willing to purchase them at 4 times the original price. In fact, Xiaoming does not know much about the market situation. He also has a superficial understanding of the game. Although individual players cannot bring 4th level mercenaries, the bases and industries of the player guild can hire high-level troops for defense. In the current situation, if a 5th level Minotaur is sold to a player, the selling price can even reach 6-8 times. It can be seen how difficult it is to obtain high-level troops. If Xiaoming does not trigger and complete the hidden task, then the highest Minotaurs produced by this maze will only be level 4. The original hidden tasks will be used as special tasks to improve the quality of Minotaurs, waiting for players to discover. After the task was completed, several players received considerable experience and gold rewards. According to the previous agreement, the researchers' gains were equivalent to the sum of the gains of the 5 rats. The researchers' adventure level directly increased by 5 levels. This is just the reward for the basic task. Next, the researcher triggered the hidden task alone and completed it perfectly. Gain experience and gold again. This time there is no 5 rats. The researcher's experience rose by 5 levels again, reaching level 3 and level 10. After all, with the strength of a level 3 player, he defeated a pseudo level 7 and 2 level 6 high-level soldiers, and the experience was once again overwhelming. The excess can only be converted into gold or resources. The researcher obtained 2 drawings for the construction of the Minotaur maze. This is an item that can be used in both the strategic map and the adventure map. In the strategic map, this is a level 5 barracks blueprint. All kinds of cities of the orcs can be built as long as there is no level 5 barracks. In addition, if the player has construction skills, he can also build in the wild. He can also produce level 5 Tauren for the player. If it is built in the wild, the resources consumed will be multiplied several times, and additional protection is required. Otherwise, it may be occupied by other players or NPC forces. In the adventure map, this blueprint is the barracks of levels 1 to 5. It can still be built in the Orc City. Of course, the city owner must agree. Players or NPCs with the architect life profession can also build mazes in the wild. Built in the adventure map, the maze is more useful. A barracks of your own is equivalent to a stronghold in the wild. Not only can it provide supplies and protection for your own adventure activities, it can also be used to block key intersections, occupy resource points, etc. If players use their brains, they will definitely be able to play a lot of tricks. However, the player's level is not high for the time being, and it is estimated that no architect has the ability to build a Tauren maze. If we hire a senior NPC architect, the financial expenditure will be considerable. I wonder if they are willing to do so. It is a pity that Xiaoming does not have an orc character. Otherwise, it would be better if he could use one himself. The most awesome reward for this mission is what I have mentioned before. The mother and son of the Minotaur entered the Universal Treasure Level 3 Summoning Cube, which gave Xiaoming the right to summon them anytime and anywhere. Although the combat power of the 3 of them is only icing on the cake for Xiaoming. But don't forget that Xiaoming still has to fight against the Chimera ants in the Hunter world. They are extremely powerful enemies. Xiaoming should now accept more and more. More level 6 soldiers will also help in the Chimera Ant Crusade. In addition, a total of dozens of Minotaur surrendered in this mission. Xiaoming does not need them, so he dealt with them all to the elves in Tanshan City. The city suddenly had so many available soldiers, and the elf leaders were very satisfied. Before, the intelligent program Xiao Sainer hired a lot of alchemists. This made Xiao Ming look at it with new eyes. This is a good idea. Xiao Ming had signed an agreement with the city of Tanshan before, and he had to supply a lot of puppets every week. It was no problem for Xiao Ming to do it himself, but it was difficult to do it with an intelligent program. So it was wise to recruit some alchemists to help complete the agreement. In addition to receiving a lot of financial and resource rewards, the reputation of the researcher in Tanshan City has also increased. After returning to the entrance of the tunnel, he added the 5 rats as friends and accepted their admiration and gratitude before going their separate ways. Xiao Ming also paid attention to the mental activities of several people. Fortunately, Xiao Ming was not disappointed on the spot. The 5 people felt that they had become rich this time, and planned to quickly save up some money and move away from the club with their families. It would be best if they could find a high school to study in the future and try to get into a university. Anyway, there is no age limit for taking the university entrance exam now. They still yearn to be college students. This makes Xiao Ming feel very relieved. After reaching level 3 and level 10, the attributes of the researcher have been greatly improved. And this is without changing the level 3 equipment. After level 3, the power of the equipment begins to show. Because of the constant fighting between players, many guilds or non-guild players have been in a state of arrears of experience. The speed of upgrading has become quite slow, like a turtle crawling. It is relatively easy to change to a good equipment. All you need is silver. So the equipment market for players is very hot now. There is no reward equipment for this mission, and Wushu feels a little bit sorry. Of course, Xiao Ming doesn't care about the equipment at all. Any of his shadow clones are 5th level soldiers, and he really doesn't lack that little equipment. Now the adventure attributes of the researcher, excluding equipment, are as follows. Vitality, 264, Strength, 396, Mana, 528, Chakra, 100. Strength 22, Constitution 22, Agility 28, Intelligence 42, Spirit 44. Xiao Ming made some adjustments when adding free attribute points. The upper limit of mercenaries on the battlefield at the same time has reached 21 people. This number is also quite amazing. The rule for players to hire soldiers after level 3 is 1/3 of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level soldiers. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1058. After the Minotaur Labyrinth was completely owned by the city of Tanshan, its area shrank at a visible speed. The official statement is this. In the past, there was a tribe of Minotaur who drifted here and settled down. As their tribe prospered, the number of Minotaur increased, and the living space they needed became larger and larger. So they kept building the labyrinth, and the maze became larger and larger, and finally blocked the connection between the ground world and the underground world. Now that the maze has been conquered, a large number of Minotaur died in the battle, and the survivors surrendered, most of whom had to live in Tanshan City. The number of Minotaur left in the maze is very small. There is no need for such a large maze. So 80% of the original maze was demolished, and the road was unblocked all of a sudden. The road to the underground world was opened, and the first change was that the elf barracks began to issue tasks to explore the underground world. Now the underground world, at least the section at the entrance, is still an undeveloped area. This also means that there must be a lot of wealth waiting for players to pick up. So the 5 rat brothers immediately accepted the task of exploring the underground world, paid for the tickets and went down with their respective troops. If other players want to accept the task, they may have to accumulate contribution points in the barracks first. But the 5 rats and the researcher are players who have completed the task of capture the Minotaur maze. There is still a preferential policy for this. No contribution points are required, you can enter directly. Before leaving, Lu Fang, the Sky Rat, felt embarrassed. He invited the researcher to go with him. Some of the other 4 rats agreed, and some opposed but were embarrassed to say it. On the surface, they were willing to let the researcher go down first. In other words, the first wave of the best things should be given to the researcher. In theory, these benefits should indeed belong to the researcher. Xiaoming was the only one who completed the task. The 5 rats had no credit. But people die for money, and birds die for food. The 5 rats are not so willing. Haha, the inner activities of several people are particularly exciting. Thanks to Xiaoming's thoughts, all 5 of them have, this is absolutely true. But to give up such a huge benefit, the 5 people are more or less reluctant. Zhangping, the rat of the river, even thinks that the eldest brother should not remind the researcher too much. Forget it, I just upgraded to level 3, and there are still many things that have not been sorted out, and the troops under my command are not fully staffed. You go first, I need to sort it out in the barracks. If you want to do your job well, you must first sharpen your tools. Xiaoming smiled and rejected Lu Fang, the rat of the sky. The 5 rats were relieved. There was a feeling of picking up a big bargain. The acting skills of the 5 people were different. Some did not show it on their faces, while others were all written on their faces. Xiaoming pretended not to see it, turned around and went his own way with the 5 people. The mentality of the 5 rats is also human nature. I remember someone said that knowing how to be grateful is actually the result of education, not innate. Although these 5 are not at the bottom, they live in the lower class of society and are also coerced by gangsters. It is normal for them to attach more importance to benefits. Xiaoming didn't care. However, the thrush on the right shoulder, Annie Hongyi, was unhappy. As an elf, she was more sensitive and could sense the mentality of the 5 rats. According to the standards of the elves, or her standards, it was unacceptable, she began to mutter in her little mouth. Without saying it formally, his brother, Alan Hongyi, who turned into a weasel, didn't know what to say, and could only smile bitterly at the researcher. Walking out of the tunnel exit, I saw that there were suddenly many elves inside the military camp, and they were doing a lot of construction. The chief officer of the military camp was also replaced, a 4th-level elf druid, who seemed to be waiting for the researcher here. Coincidentally, Alan and Annie knew this elf, and they jumped off Xiaoming's shoulders and turned into human forms. Brother Kevin, why are you here? Let me guess, brother, you are here to be the boss here, right? Or Sister Annie is so smart, she guessed it right. It turns out that these people are brothers and sisters. Xiaoming listened for a while before realizing that Kevin is actually the cousin of Alan and Annie. Kevin's father is Adrian Hongyi, who he had met before, a senior official of the City Hall of Hanshan City. It was thanks to the researcher that he was able to fight for such an important position as the chief officer of the entrance and exit of the underground passage for his son. Because the researcher completed the important task of conquering the Minotaur maze, he opened the door to the underground world for the elves in Hanshan City. The underground world represents new territory, resources, wealth, army, etc. This is more useful than the puppets that the researcher made before. The elves are bound to develop the underground world, so this military camp has also been upgraded. The researcher's contribution is so outstanding that the status of the Hongyi family, which has a good relationship with the researcher, has also risen. In fact, because of the good relationship, the one who is close to the water gets the moon first. A large part of the Tauran troops that Danshan City bought from the researcher will fall into the hands of the Hongyi family. So even though this is the first time the researcher has met Kevin Hongyi, Kevin's favorability towards him has reached 40. Alan and Annie are higher, 43 and 45 respectively. At the same time, Kevin brought good news. Xiaoming was promoted to the noble title of the elves. The medal was upgraded to the 2nd-class Elf Honorary Baron medal. Noble titles usually have 5 levels, Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount, and Baron. Above Duke is the King, which is very rare. Below Baron is Knight. Each level of nobility is divided into 3 grades. Grade 1 is the highest and Grade 3 is the lowest. The researcher was a first-class knight before, and now he has crossed the third-class baron and become a second-class baron. Noble medals, even if they are only honorary. There are also some salaries to be collected every week. This can be done by the noble guards. Anyway, the money is not much, Xiaoming doesn't care much. After the upgrade, the researcher can hire 2 third-level elf noble guards. In theory, Alan and Hongyi brothers and sisters can be replaced. However, both parties tacitly understood this matter and never mentioned it at all. In addition, the Hongyi family privately gave the researcher a special thank you gift, a purple perfect level marching tent. It can store 4 times the number of mercenaries. The researcher transferred the original blue high-level tent to the explorer, and quietly strengthened the new tent with triple source energy. I thought it would be enhanced to epic level, but it was not. Instead, 2 new properties were added to the tent. 1, it will return to 0 when out of hand. This is a common feature of the treasures that Xiaoming has enhanced. Characters other than his own cannot use the enhanced properties. 2 soldiers or players resting in the tent will recover 5 times faster than usual and continue to gain a small amount of adventure professional experience points. This is amazing. In the future, even if you just put the mercenaries in the tent, you can slowly upgrade. The marching tent is not just for mercenaries. When the tent is set up in the wild, the player character can also rest in it. Very good. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1059. After accepting the gift from the Red Leaf family, the 2 sides exchanged pleasantries for a while, and the researcher took 2 guards to the military camp to purchase. Xiaoming did not plan to buy any high-end things. Tanshan City itself is just a small city that can be entered by level 2 players. So it is not very prosperous. Not to mention this military camp located in the suburbs of the city. It's just that the elves in this area are in trouble here, and there is no city higher than Tanshan City. Therefore, Xiaoming only plans to buy some standard equipment for alchemists. There are also level 3 puppet blueprints. There is no way. The elves in Tanshan City have a mediocre level of research on alchemy, and their research on the category of puppets is even worse. If it weren't for the good foundation, I'm afraid there wouldn't even be level 3 things. Under such conditions, even if Xiaoming wanted to get some high-end things, it would be difficult to do so. He only bought standard equipment and the simplest level 3 puppet blueprint. For better things, other characters will go to other cities to find them. Xiaoming has no requirements for equipment, but the more blueprints, the better. The 3rd level ordinary alchemist suit, after 3 times of source energy enhancement, the quality is upgraded to excellent level, and it also gains the attribute of zeroing out of hand. Basic attributes are, life add 160, strength add 160, mana add 240. Physical defense add 40, magic defense add 80. The newly learned blueprint is the 3rd level infantry puppet. Not even a 3rd level swordsman, a bit rubbish. Xiaoming casually used the research technique. Suddenly, a bright light flashed on the blueprint, and God actually gave it face. Probably because he felt sorry for the researcher, he gave him some good luck. The primary research technique triggered the minimum probability and copied another 3rd level infantry puppet blueprint. Damn it! Xiaoming really wanted to curse. This is a kind of extreme happiness and sorrow. The worst blueprint, what's the use of copying one for me? It's better to give me some professional experience. After learning one of the blueprints, he threw the other one into the warehouse. Xiaoming decided to do something a little bit fierce. He opened the purple perfect level marching tent and entered the military tent with 2 guards. Both guards were very surprised that the researcher never took them to the resting place. Could it be that he had ulterior motives? But there were still those mercenaries in the tent, and the researcher could not do anything unspeakable here. What exactly did Xiaoming want to do? Nothing. Xiaoming just wanted to give the 2 guards supernatural energy seeds on impulse. Since the Naruto profession had been developed before and the Saint Seiya profession was also under development, Xiaoming simply continued to do so. But what kind of power should be given to these 2 elf guards? Normally, the researcher is Naruto, and it might be better to make the guards ninjas. But if a new profession can be developed, it might be better. Xiaoming was a little embarrassed, and finally made up his mind to develop different professions for the 2 guards. Alan Hongyi, Xiaoming gave him chakra seeds, Annie Hongyi got telekinesis seeds. 1 Naruto, 1 Hunter x Hunter. Brother Alan successfully became a level 1 apprentice Naruto. He got the energy slot of chakra. It seems that he is not a genius like Li Huamei. He does not have the strength to soar into the sky. In terms of the use of ninjutsu, Xiaoming needs to send a shadow clone to teach him by words and deeds. This is the same for Annie, who has obtained the ability of mind. She did bring a little surprise to Xiaoming. The system prompted that the researcher had completed the hidden task, the glory of mind power, and really opened the career of Hunter x Hunter. The researcher is rewarded with 2 intermediate templates of mind ability, which can only be used in the main game. There is no restriction on the object of use, it can be a player or an NPC. But the specific ability of the template is completely unknown. Xiaoming thought about it and did not use it on the researcher. After all, the researcher has a ninja profession. Explorers also have the Taoist profession. The second combat profession should also be dispersed. If they are all piled on one character, it will be difficult to level up when the intelligent program takes over. Xiaoming plans to give the template of mind ability to the diver, the informant, or both characters. This kind of thing can be done more in the future. There won't be too many new professions that can be opened. First come, first served. Xiaoming has to hurry up and try to open all the professions that can be opened. When others want to do the same in the future, they won't have the chance. I don't know if this is considered to be following others' path and leaving them with nowhere to go. It's just opening a new profession, and the reward is not too good, only 2 intermediate templates. This makes Xiaoming not very satisfied. In fact, the system also has considerations in terms of rewards. It's similar to the reward of puppetry. If you give a high-level template and use it on the character, the second profession still starts from the first level apprentice profession. With just a little bit of telekinesis, it's not enough to do anything. The character can't use the telekinesis of this high-level template for a long time. In fact, even if it's an intermediate template, the telekinesis power is probably not enough. However, the system thinks that it's easier to upgrade in the apprentice profession stage, and the intermediate telekinesis template can be used without waiting for a long time. That's why they didn't make all of them into primary templates. Xiaoming should be thankful that the system is quite considerate. This is the first time that the full-time hunter profession appears in the main game of Magic Planet. The system vaguely prompts that the main reason is that Xiaoming's character in the Hunter secret realm has obtained a high enough status. One is the direct disciple of Netero, the president of the Hunter Association, the other is the current leader of the Phantom Troop. If there is no such identity, other players may be able to teach the NPC in the main game with words, so that the NPC in the main game can learn telekinesis. But that's all. The system will not recognize that the player has opened up a new profession in the main game. Just like before, although Xiaoming made Li Huamei and 3 others obtain the small universe, he still couldn't open the Saint Seiya profession. The reason why the Naruto profession was opened is more because of Sasuke Sarutobi. Sasuke Sarutobi is originally a legendary ninja master. In the secret realm of Naruto, there is even a person with the same name. He himself is studying a new type of puppetry. The combination of several conditions, plus Xiao Ming gave him the chakra seed, successfully opened the new profession of Naruto. The deceased was also rewarded with the puppetry secret book. Using the secret book allows the researcher to obtain the Naruto profession. Linked together. Netaro's disciple and the leader of the Phantom Troop. As long as one of these two identities is achieved, it is enough to start the full-time hunter career. So Annie became a level 1 apprentice full-time hunter as expected. Possessed 100 basic telekinesis points. The new energy slots were so few that the two did not take it seriously. It was not until the researcher demonstrated the power of chakra and telekinesis that the two elves were overjoyed. The favorability rose to 50. They all studied hard with the shadow clones. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1060. September 6 is Tuesday. This week, researchers need to fulfill the agreement and make various second-level puppets and canoes for Tanshan City. But now that we have reached level 3, it would be pointless to make level 2 puppets. You can make more money by trading level 3 puppets, right? It's a pity that I have only learned one scroll of level 3 infantry puppet. The puppet elves will not accept this kind of thing. Xiao Ming has discovered that level 3 puppets are no longer lumps of wood. Various metal ores began to be added to the materials. The cost is higher, and the strength is also higher. From the perspective of cost performance, it is naturally better. Xiao Ming quickly switched between several characters and searched in several cities. I did buy several level 3 puppet drawings. In fact, most of them are bought in Bianliang City, Tokyo. Speaking of which, there are still a few twists and turns. Bianliang, Tokyo, can be said to be one of the most prosperous cities on the adventure map of the main game, with the most complete range of goods. It can be compared with other cities in the Song dynasty, such as Hangzhou, Damingfu, etc. The capitals of other races are incomparable to Tokyo. But the explorer's true identity is the Liangshan Grass Bandits. Wanted. Some low-level shops and facilities were not inspected so strictly, so he could get in even though he was wearing a Taoist robe. If it were a high-end shop or a professional union, explorers would never dare to enter. Xiao Ming just wanted to ask if he could get the researcher to come over and buy things himself. Xiao Ming has the ability to teleport through space. It is the space magic learned from Karmatage in the world of Marvel. But where is Bianliang in Tokyo? This is the capital of the Song dynasty, and there are many masters. I dare not say who is stronger, but there are definitely more than 1 or 2 S-level masters here, maybe a dozen or 20, which is a small number. At the same time, Tokyo City has a strong magic circle, personal spatial abilities or props, so it doesn't matter if you decorate it. If you want to teleport people in, there's no way. Xiao Ming even thought about teleporting the researcher to the suburbs and letting him walk in by himself. But it doesn't work. Level 3 players don't have the right to enter the capital. Explorers can come in because they are on a special mission. Otherwise, he actually couldn't stay here. How was it resolved in the end? It sounds simple, just ask locals for help. Of course, it won't work if you just ask any NPC for help. If you don't like me well enough, people won't help you. But I can't stand it. There is Xiao Ming's undercover in the city itself. Who is the undercover agent? Of course, it's the role played by Xiao Ming's clones and modified bodies in the game. These characters will become easier to use as Xiao Ming's own strength improves and his mental strength is tempered. Before, researchers and informants have searched for such NPCs to do work for them. Tokyo Bianliang is a city with a population of over 1 million. It is impossible to say that there is no such NPC. Xiao Ming didn't dare to release the scanned map and went looking for it in a big way. That was just provocation. He could only operate the explorer and start wandering around in safer areas of the city. As long as there is such an NPC within 100 meters of you, you should be able to find it. Such an important thing is worth spending some time on. Xiaoming was having fun, and Fan Rui, who was walking around with him, had a big head. I don't know what this kid is wandering about. I asked several times but couldn't get the answer. Just be an explorer. After all, his job is to protect and monitor the explorers. All actions are actually decided by the explorer. If he wants to take a walk, then he can take a walk. The two of them also used some small healing spells to help the people, and also practiced magic spells. Xiaoming wandered around for more than half an hour before he met one. It turned out to be a good thing. It was a prisoner who had just been arrested. Is it possible that he still wants to rob the prison? Even if he is rescued, he won't be of use. 10 minutes later, I met someone again, and it was someone I knew. It is the crossing mouse Zhang seen in the copy of Lucian Uproots a Weeping Willow. He and Green Grass Snake Li Si are the leaders of the Jujube sex thugs/gangsters. Unexpectedly, Zhang San, the street rat, was actually played by his own clone. And it's still the same family. However, the one in the copy is just a phantom. The person we meet now is the real Zhang San. Only Xiaoming can bring it under his command. I thought Zhang San could go shopping for him. Unfortunately, after some mental communication, I found that it didn't work either. As a rogue, Zhang San's status in Bianliang City was very low, and he was a being that everyone shouted at. Where the explorer cannot enter, he cannot enter either. There is no need to hide Xiaoming and his clone. The identity of Lieutenant General Liang Shan can be revealed. After learning about this, Zhang San immediately began to wipe his nose and tears, pretending to be pitiful, and cried out about the experiences of himself and others. Things actually develop normally. Since Lu Zixin and Lin Chang's accident, he has now become a prominent figure in Liangshan. Zhang San and other gangsters have a good relationship with Lu Zixin, and everyone nearby knows it. The government was unable to find fault with Lu and Liang, so Zhang San, Li Si, and others naturally became the punching bag. Fortunately, no one really took him seriously, and killing him would seem stingy. So the gangsters were imprisoned for several months and received several beatings. In the end, no life was lost. Why not lock it up a little longer? The jails used to hold them were such a waste. These people don't dare to hang out in their original territory. Now they have moved to another territory and continue to be rogues. They are like this by nature, and they can't change. Even if they want to change their careers now, the government won't allow them. They are in a very miserable situation. All day long, they wonder why Brother Lu Zixin hasn't sent someone to pick them up to join the gang. These ruffians are willing to be robbers. It's not easy for Xiaoming to take over for Lu Zixin, but it's okay to help his own clones, right? So the explorer took out a sum of silver, wrote a few letters to Zhang San, and asked him to take his brothers to Liangshan to join the gang. Count them under his command. Worried about the possibility of danger on the road, Xiaoming even sent a 7-star shadow clone to accompany him. Zhang San thanked him profusely. The explorer hasn't found the person to buy things yet. Helplessly, he has to continue looking. Another half an hour passed, and the role of the third clone was finally suitable. His name is Chu Wen, he has no combat profession, his living profession is a scholar, and now he is a scholar. He works as an ordinary clerk in Kaifeng Prefecture, doing some meaningless clerical work, the kind with little authority. This person is just right. Not only can he go to some shops to buy things on behalf of Xiaoming, but he can also borrow books from the library for explorers to read, increasing their experience as scholars. Such a rare talent, this is a tentacle that can stay in Bianliang City. Xiaoming has established a closer spiritual connection with him. Make sure that even if he returns to Liangshan, he can communicate with him at any time.